after looking at the film and at the NC State game, again, credit to NC State. They have a very good football team, did a great job. Thought our kids competed in the game very well. Thought they played very hard. Thought it was a very physical football game. It was a really good football game. But, there's some areas that we'll get our guys in and we'll coach them up better and to be able to execute some different situations a little better and key things. And that's on us as coaches, and that's me as a head coach to make sure that gets done. And, again, our kids cared, and they did a great job of competing in the game. We have to execute a little better in some situations. But, again, that goes on us as coaches to be able to make sure that we can do that at that particular time and gives ourselves a chance to be successful in some key moments in the game. But, like on that, we got to get ready to go play a great Wake Forest team who's a very, very good football team, who's undefeated. Defensively have one of the top teams in the country and have been their scheme and what they do. Offensively have gotten much better, got more experience at quarterback and things as we go. So we'll correct the things today, finish correcting the things today from the NC State game, progress on and get ready to play a Wake Forest team. But we got some improvement to make. We made some improvement in areas, and we'll continue to grow. But I still like the makeup of this team and what we have the ability to do. Yes, sir.
Jimbo, when you look back at the film, what would you say are the most critical mistakes that stood out to you in terms of areas of improvement?
Well, I mean, I thought special teams were really good, came back in that area, and I think we have to finish some, finish some drives in the red zone. We had opportunities down there and had plays that we could have made. I think we got to get started faster on defense a little bit better. Hopefully he can shut guys down, not get behind in that area. But then they had times which they played really well. We needed to get the ball back at the end with a stop, and we gave up some third and longs, a couple there. Offensively, we created some big plays, ran the ball really well, had great balance till the 2-minute drive before the half, which is an excellent thing to do. And then at the end of the game, when you got behind 2 scores, we had to pick it up a little bit, but had some chances there and finalize in those areas. So we'll just have to continue to grow there. And some of the I say unforced penalties, the penalty areas, we had a couple extra penalties which we didn't need. We had them backed up once. We jumped off sides 3 or 4 times in that regard, and we don't need to do that. And hadn't been doing that. Hadn't been doing it in practice, and hadn't been doing it in the first game.
Jimbo, is there any update on Auden Tate and Matthew Thomas?
Yeah, they'll be day-to-day. It's nothing that will be season-ending weekend. They'll just be day-to-day and how they feel and how they come out of this. And we'll see after they have treatments and things today.
Jimbo, how was James physically after the game?
Really good.
And watching the film, how did you think he graded out overall?
Thought he did some really nice things, special. A lot of little detail things. Can carry out fakes a little better. But I think he was so worried about making sure he handed the ball off, made the right read and the right check, and carried some of those things out. But as far as the passing game, handling the blitz, making decisions where to go with the ball, was really good in the game. Going to the right guy for the right reasons and the right coverage. With some of our RPOs, he made really good throws and decisions and had some big plays on it. And if we'd have had a couple other block, we could have one of them probably led to a touchdown in the other. We had some things that he did there that I was really, really happy with. Was accurate and gave us a chance to be successful in the game. Made some really critical third down throws and gives chances on others. I thought he had a very solid game, especially for our first game and what was going, the type of team he was playing. He graded out pretty good.
Jimbo, James, he hit Auden downfield on a long third down. Before that, he seemed a little shaky, but from that, I think he was like 9 of his next 11 or something like that. Do you think maybe just having that success?
Well, he hit the first pass, was a screen, then we ran it, then we had a 3rd and 6, which was very makeable. Then we had a 3rd and long because we had a penalty on the jump, and he got pressured. Then he missed Auden we had a bootleg, which he threw away. We had a naked, which we should have had protected. We had a wide open comeback, and we didn't seal the edge. Would have been perfect for him, just trying to boot and move him around the pocket to get a couple of those early. And then he threw it away. Then he missed Auden just off his fingertips, and then after that he got really good. A couple times he had contested throws, and then the other one he just barely missed, and then he got hot. But that happens. That's part of the game. We need to help around him a little better. But that I didn't think the start. I thought he was pretty good. The one throw, like I say, with Auden was just a little long on the sideline. Other than that, early throws, I thought he was really good.
Do you think they're connecting on that one?
Oh, I don't think there's no doubt. I think it gets to, we hit a couple first downs there, and you get that, okay, I got this, and it's like, okay, I can do this. You know what I'm saying? And then you get going. But that's like anything, and they did. But it did get him kick-started, and he took off.
Did you have any concerns about Blackman? Did you have any concerns about Blackman heading into Saturday that he answered during the game?
That noise, I'm sorry.
Did you have any concerns about Blackman heading into Saturday's game that he answered?
Yeah, until you ever go out there and do it on the field, does the moment overwhelm a guy? Does it get too big for a guy? And there's another moment going on the road this week. There's going to be a learning curve all the way through. But, that first thing of just and how he communicates and how he can handle failure or success, and he had a couple failures early, like we had talked about, like Tim said right there, and then then he got hot. So, I mean, it was a great sign, and it was funny. He did that in practice the other day. It was one of the practices. He started off just a hair slow, and it wasn't sharp, and all of a sudden, he doesn't allow it to resonate in him. You know what I mean? He keeps moving on, and that's an important part, especially for young players, because they want to do so good sometimes that they become their own worst enemies if they don't have success immediately. And there was a lot of those areas which you wonder till he gets in the game, and he went in and handled all those situations. So from that standpoint, that's one of the things I like to see.
Jimbo, you mentioned the slow starts defensively. Is there anything you could pinpoint or ways to improve?
No,
that?
I mean we had him in a 3rd and 13, and we got him in a 3rd and 13. They throw a screen to get it, and we just fit the blocks wrong. You know what I mean? We just got on the wrong edge and we had it played, had a good call, had it played. We got to execute the call better, and we could have had it, and they would have been in a long field goal situation. And one of them came from a penalty. I think they got a penalty on a roughing. That one of those was on that deal, and there was something else on that drive, if I'm not mistaken. I can't think off the top of my head. But we got to start faster, and we do it in practice and play. And we had them in 3rd and long situations in both those drives, and backed up situations. One we got a penalty, and one they executed a screen pass and got down. Now I thought we did a great job in the tight zone down there of really making them kick field goals, and once and forced them to a 4th down play that really was a great effort by their guy and was a touchdown. I mean, the guy's knee. We had a great tackle there. Thought our guys executed down there and didn't give up on the drive, but got to get off the field in those 3rd downs. That was the key. I mean, because we had them in 3rd down on both situations. They didn't run the ball well early, and we had them in 3rd and 7 or more on 2 of those and just didn't execute.
Coach, just on Blackman's first start, how much harder is it on a freshman quarterback to be playing from behind, and then how do you think he responded to that pressure?
I think he responded very well. I mean, it's definitely, you always want to play from ahead, but sometimes, I know this may sound crazy, sometimes how you call it, and then when you get ahead, you say, okay, you guys want to, they get scared too. They got to learn to do that too. That's another step when you do get ahead of playing aggressive but intelligent at the same time, and not, because when you're behind, sometimes you can be a little looser in a crazy way. But those are one-score games. So to me, it was behind, but it really became after the first 2 drives, we got back to 10-7, it was a one-score game back and forth, so it's still very close. So it was kind of like, wasn't really playing from behind as much as you would be 2 or 3 scores, you know what I'm saying? But, those are all parts of growing, and you have to do it. And I thought he did a real nice job.
Jimbo, with James, it seemed he was very expressive, saying things like "my bad" and doing hand motions when he was communicating with you guys.
He does that. That's one of the things that encouraged me. He is a take charge guy, and as far as he owns up to things that he thinks he can do better. And a lot of things, when it's not always his fault, he's willing to do that because he always has the team in mind, in my opinion, what he does. And that's kind of the qualities I said about him that I really liked. Remember, you hear me in camp talking about him. This guy, how I liked him, what I did. A lot of the little qualities that I see in guys that are very successful, the mental makeup and the psychological makeup, I see, and that's kind of the things, what you're seeing right there.
How big of a difference is communication with him in practice versus in the game? Did you like how quickly he responded?
Oh, it was very similar. It was and that's why one of the reasons I try to do practice like we do and try to be as intense on guys and push guys and challenge guys. And he's a guy who knows it's not perfect. He loves it. He's kind of the guy that when I don't say something, he did it last week. He had a couple plays, and I didn't say anything was going on with the next guy, and what was wrong? What's wrong? Nothing. I'd have told you, I promise you. You know what I mean? But he looks for that engagement. DeAndre does now, he's quieter. Jameis always did. You hear Jameis talk about it all the time. They look for that feedback to know good or bad of what they're doing, and I like that out of him, and he likes that.
Specifically with the red zone office, when you went back and watched the film, what was the biggest issues?
We had run and pad. We had opportunities that were there. We had first time we scored a touchdown, did a great job. The next time, the next time was 2 minutes, so we just ran out of time. And which I still haven't. I got to get a rule. I don't understand how they thought there was a timeout, and everybody ran on the field. So that stopped the whole momentum. That's a big play in the game people haven't talked about because we're in 2 minutes and we clock the ball. We still got a timeout left. Now we got a shot to either run, throw the ball, whatever we want to do for 2 plays, and they can't get a call in. But their team come on the field for a timeout, and the official said it was, we had to stand there and wait. So that changed the whole dynamic because all the calls you can get in and things you do in 2 minutes. That was a big situation, and that was the next one. Then the third one was we hit the post route. We had to play action. He was trying to go over. We hit Auden down there. And we ran an RPO, and if we cracked it, out there wide, we had an RPO, and if we called take 2, the guy's got man, you go crack his guy, it would have, and we did it earlier. If you remember, Auden Tate caught one on the sideline for about 17 yards. Same play. Same exact deal. We executed it then. We didn't at that particular time. It would have scored. Then we hit a run. Then on 3rd down, they covered the pass and threw it away. We had the RPO on 1st down. Then the next time, we hit the go route to George, had down on the 12, run a play action pass. They covered, went to the backside. The guy just, when he made it, when he stumbled and fell out of his route, so he got sacked. Then they ran it, and then we had a 3rd and long and just missed off Nooney's fingertips down there in that regard. Then we ran it the other times. We ran it, mixed it. Then the other times at the end of the game, we didn't execute. And we had guys open, and we dropped one, and then got pressure on another on the last drive and could have executed there. So, I mean, that was the scenarios. But and that's things we work on a lot. And we're going to continue to work on. We'll get them right.
You talked earlier kind of about the onus on you and your coaching staff to do better with the players. What's the conversation like with you and your staff since Saturday in terms of just how to do that, but also about just accountability as a whole?
Oh, we're all accountable. Nobody's not backing up. We're very accountable. There ain't nothing accountability as a whole. That's there no matter what. We're accountable for everything that happens. And that's what you do. So, I mean, there's not a conversation. We just got to make sure that our players understand what we want them to do, how we want them to do it. If he doesn't understand this, that's communicating a different way. That's showing more film. That's showing more. Does he need more video cut-ups? Does he need more of this? And we evaluate each guy to help him what we think would make him play better in those scenarios. And that's what we went through, guy by guy, person by person, which we do. But we do that after every game, every way we win or lose. I mean, there's not a lot of change as far as that. When we win, all right, but that guy didn't play as well. All right, what can we do to get him to play better? All right, and does he need more videos? Does he need more time? Does he need more reps on the field? Does he need more walkthrough time? Certain players learn differently. So it's a very similar situation, win or lose, believe it or not. I mean, you think there's no magic, as I say, there's no magic dust or magic thing that makes you meet more play. We meet and do as much as we can, but we just got to evaluate what we're doing and then what works, what doesn't work, and how to get each player to be more successful.
Jimbo, can you give us an update on Dontavius Jackson? I just haven't seen him on the field very much this season.
He was hurt for most of, and it was out for almost a long time. And then some of the other guys, just in that scenario, getting back and playing shape and playing, have played. Ahead of him.
Jimbo, going back to look at the offensive line, I guess what are things that you liked what they did on Saturday, things that maybe they needed to work on in hindsight? I
mean, we missed a couple chips on Chubb, which we should have had. To help some guys, which we was schemed in there, and then allowed us. One of them probably cost us a big play. It could have been a big possible touchdown. We just didn't get the chip made, and then we run blocked pretty well for the most part. We ran the ball well. Chubb had some pressure on one. We got a pressure late inside on a couple twist games, and we got beat individually. I mean, it was just a one-on-one pass set. We got to do a better job of clogging the middle a little bit. Sometimes when your guy's not there, of making sure we get back second level and creating that wall. So even if you're on this side on a slide, your body presence helps on this side. You know what I mean? And as I say, what's called clogging the middle, we use that term a lot with your body, and helping some of the guys inside, because those three techniques to get those two-way goes, it's hard to protect as the edge guys is it sometimes. So in those areas, we got to do a little bit better job. We give up a couple hits there, and then we got to keep chipping like we did in the first game against Alabama, and continue to do it there in this game. And our run blocking was pretty good. We ran the ball decently well. Just continue to grow in all those areas.
All right, we're going to go to the phone now for Chris.
Hey, Jimbo, how you doing?
Hey, Chris, how you doing, buddy?
Doing great. I was watching Blackman on Saturday. Would you consider putting him more in the shotgun to get him adjusted to the speed of college football? Because it seemed like when he was under center, he didn't have that time to get back and throw the football, and he looked like he was chasing. I know NC State had a great defense, but do you consider putting him more in the shotgun to get him adjusted?
He was in the shotgun about 85% of the time in that game, if I'm not mistaken. He was in there a bunch, and then the ones underneath, he had a nice post throw to. No, those were all guns. There was hardly any of those underneath, to be honest with you. I mean, most of them were all gun. He might have been in there more than that if I have to look at it. So, but he'll continue to do the things we got to do in the positions to make him successful.
And also one question about the running game. I know we had some good runs in the first half. Mm-hmm. Are we trying to find somebody to replace number 4? Because I know last year he was the offense. What do we have to do to get the running game established better?
Well, we did establish it. We ran it really well the first half. We had good runs. We went 2-minute offense in the second half. The first two out of three possessions, the weird thing about it was we had a post route for 57 that took us down there, and then the next drive, we dropped the ball. We had a little spot route. Our tight end, he slipped up, and we had a first down right there. Made a 3rd and 1. We dropped it, and then the next one, we had a go route. We had a run for 3, and then hit a go route to George down the sideline and got it down there and ran it in the red zone. And then after that, I think we got behind a little bit and had to pick it up. But we'll continue to run the ball. We had great balance. I got back and evaluated that. We're almost 50-50 to almost 55-45. And those RPOs, a couple of those are really runs. They're runs are called. If they give us those things, we take them. So, in that regard, we probably called more runs than we did passes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jimbo, you had a couple big plays in the passing game, but what was your overall thoughts on how the wide receivers played and how they helped young players?
We have to improve. We have to improve in some areas and get better, but I thought they made some plays, blocked well at times. But receivers, there's such a fine line there, and you got to be every play, whether it's a block, a run, your route, you can get the ball on any play. And we got to continue to grow. They played a nice game. But we got to continue to grow there and play a little better. Like this, but that's everywhere. I mean, it's not just receiver. I think across the board, everywhere.
What was your thoughts on the way Ricky responded late in the second quarter, those 3 straight timeouts, and the fact that he was still able to go in and do well with the field goal? Because it seems like that was some gamesmanship.
Well with the first field goal. He had a nice day. He's 4 for 5. But I will say, I wish that first kick was, cause I think could have changed momentum. Because the first kick was 10-7, that ties the game up with 3 minutes to go, and then all of a sudden it's a tie game. Instead, you're kicking off instead of up 3 going in your 2-minute drive in which they scored. They hit the big play right on us, change the momentum back, and I thought it was a momentum changer. But at the same time, I thought he responded very well to that. And then every kick after that kept us in the game, he did a heck of a job on. Man, he made good kicks. Was 4 for 5. But I did think the first one, I wish he could have made it. I wish we could have made a throw. Wish we could have made a block. Wish we could have made a tackle. There's a lot of things that was another play in that game that I thought was a pretty critical momentum play, because that would have tied the game up with 3 minutes to go in the half and where you're at. But at the same time, then he responds right back, doesn't let that bother him, and comes back on a 2-minute drive when we're down 2 scores, and they call the 3 timeouts like you talked about, and then bounce back. I think that's a sign of his maturity, and he did a heck of a job in that regard. Very proud of him in that way.
Jimbo, with Auden specifically, what were some things that you were seeing on film that allowed him and James to kind of get in a groove and for him to have 9 receptions in the game?
Well, I think the reads took him there. It wasn't things we tried to get some balls there, and in other ways give the options to where we were going with the football. And I think there were some run formations that they were playing to run, because once we got the running game going, we were able to hit play action on both of those. The nice comeback he hit. The post route was off a hard play action off the runs in which we had broken earlier in the game. They tied into that. And then in the 2-minute situations, when they were bringing blitz, which, they were trying to pressure the young quarterback, he had him in one-on-one situations and allowed him to go to. And Auden's a big guy that can play over the top, but he's really polished his game underneath for his routes and his body size. So I think, all that together, and, it's a shame that he got hurt because he was having one heck of a day and was doing a great job blocking, too.
Is that a left shoulder injury or collarbone?
I want to say it is left shoulder. Now that you asked that, I say that because I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Because he hurt the one last year in the Sugar Bowl. It's the opposite one. It's a left shoulder. Yes, I'm pretty sure it's a left shoulder.
With him being day-to-day, I guess, how fortunate is that for James in the passing game?
They have a guy of his experience back that will get back into the swing of things, because he's a great player for us. The guy's he's a difference maker. And not only that, he from leadership point, experience point, just so many different things.
Jimbo, can you explain the RPOs? Because you look at the stats and your running backs had 20 carries, and I think you dropped back 39, 40 times. So
on RP, all those bubble routes.
Okay.
There's 8 or 9 of them. There was a call. I call them right here. There's like the first one was a screen. Then we had that. Then we had runs. Then we had an F line where we could give it on the run, and when he missed a throw to 26 coming in the flat. Remember, would have been wide open. He made the perfect read, just missed the throw. You can run or pull the screen and throw it. The bubble route to Auden down the sideline, we got runs on inside. And if they all bunch the box and give us those outside, just like they were doing, it's what they were doing, all their slants and hitches. And then when they bunch the box, you're just throwing that bubble out there. So that's a run. To us, those aren't passes. Those are runs. If you throw them out there and you gain 5, you ran 5 yards on a run, would you ever pass it? No. And if you gain we averaged about 8.5, 9 yards of play on those routes and those little screen routes. So those are run-pass options that when they bunch the box and create the leverage outside, we just throw it out there. And so those are really runs. In our mind, that's part of our running game. It's receivers running the ball. And you're still blocking the run inside. The defense has to play the run in what you're doing. That's and we had 1, 2, let's go down right here. 3. Then you went 2 minutes. You had 3 or 4 in the first half. We're about balanced. We're 50-50. Then the first one, we missed one right off the bat in the second half. We had a run on miss. Remember, he overthrew it 2 passes to Nooney to the left on the first play. The next play was a play action. We hit the post. Then the next one was a run play after we hit the Keith in the flat. That's when I said if we push crack it and take 2 and they block him, he walks in. That's the one we had done earlier. That's one. Then we ran it. Then we ran it, dropped a spot, ran it, hit the deep ball, play action. The Tennessee Lou, we had the one we threw to Nooney in the flat. That's 6 of them right there. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to go down the line right here. Then you had Cooter. Then we had the Juice. We had, and then we had 7 of them. We had 7 of them that we threw that were run past. So really, in your drop back, take 7 off and add 7 runs, theoretically, in what you're trying to call. I don't know what it ended up, but it would have been about 27 to 30. It would have been about 50-50. And then you had a 2-minute drive in there, and you had 2 minutes to end the game. So in most calls, 2-minute situations and third down situations, you probably ran it more than you actually threw it in the game. And a lot of theirs, you didn't realize a lot of theirs were. A lot of those slants and hitches and things they did were all runs that are called that are, that's what the NFL, I mean, that's the, when guys bunch the box and you can't, there's too many people in there to block. That's what you end up doing. Best things we've done since we've been here. I mean, it ain't no different.
You mentioned the shorter passes for NC State, and you said last week they're going to get rid of the ball quickly. And it's with the pressure. Were you confident with the pressure you guys were getting on them?
No, we need to affect the quarterback more, but at the same time, there weren't many 3rd and longs. And you got we need to pressure them. But some of those 3rd and longs, like I said, they got out. They hit a quick screen. If you go look at their conversion on 3rd and long, it was a quick screen to the left on the first one. They bubble pumped the screen on the right and threw it like a quick route, and which we did too. That's why we got a couple of ours in there in that regard. So they didn't hold it long, but we still got to continue to get pressure and affect him. We didn't affect him enough.
Jimbo, can you just give some impressions on Wake Forest? I know they have experience with quarterback, tight end, some other guys.
Experienced quarterback, tight end, scoring on offense, really good defensive football team. If you go back and look, they're probably one of the top. I don't know what they're ranked right now, but they're really high in defense, and they have been. You go back and look at the film last year. Even last year, the teams that got it, if you remember the Louisville looked like they scored 40 points, but if you remember, it was 12-6 or 10 to 3, 10 to 7. I don't know what it was, something like that with all the way into the 4th quarter. You know what I mean? Clemson the same way. I mean, they broke late because they had to take chances on offense and then finally turned the ball over and did some things. But defensive, man, they're a heck of a football team. And then offensive, they've got so much more experience. It's the same guys that have played for the last 3 years. Now you're seeing them get better. I mean, they're a really good team, and their scheme is very unique and different in what they do, and they force you to do certain things and have done a great job. I mean, they're a really good defensive football team, 4-0, playing very confident, and have gotten more experience on offense, and now they're scoring points.
Saturday, you had Jaquez in for the first 2 series, went with Cam in the 3rd. Any thoughts on changing the running back rotation, or do you like?
No, that's what our rotation is.
And then just 14-8 last 22 games. Just how do you, in second straight season with a slow start, how do you turn it around?
Keep coaching. Do the things we do. Attention to detail, fundamentals, coach them better, begin them to play better.
Jimbo, on defense, did you see any of the regression to some of the issues that affected you guys early last season, like setting the edge and anything, or was it different?
They set the edge, did a good job. Got out of a gap at the end, but did a nice job in that regard. I mean, it wasn't played hard, played physical. I mean, we had some guys banged up, played really physical in the game. It was a physical game. Just had to stay, keep plugging along. They had some good players.
And then looking at the big picture, touching on what Joe was asking, every season presents its own challenges, but do you sit back and look, okay, over the last 3 years now, we haven't been able to, it doesn't look promising right now for the ACC race and things like that. Do you look at it that way or not at all?
They can't. I mean, those are your goals at the beginning of the year. You just go play. All I'm worried about is Wake Forest. What we can do this week to play against Wake Forest is got a heck of a team and go.
Jimbo, you said beginning when we started here, you said something to the effect of our kids care. Did you kind of see something in the game that may have dictated that they might have not?
I said our kids play hard and they care. I mean, it matters to them. You can see it. It hurts them when they don't have success or do the things they want to do. They care hard. They play hard. We just got to get them to play better, and we got to help them play better in situations. You always wonder what kids care and it matters to them. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's a big factor. When things matter to you, you improve, and I think they do. They've done everything we ask, and we got to continue to help them do better.
How is Matthew Thomas doing? Will he
be day to day?
Okay. And then I don't know if you got to see the game last night or if you watched it at all, but Chris Thompson
No,
and what he's doing in the NFL.
Game. I didn't get. I'm happy. He's a great player, man. He's a great guy. I was thinking Wake Forest when two things. He broke his back up there, and then a year later he had 190 yards in the first half when we came back down here. I mean, that was the game we had lost up there that year. Remember, he broke his back in that game right in the first series. It was a critical play in the game, which really hurt us in the game because at that time we had a bunch of young players and at his position. And then he come back the next year after broken back. If you remember, had 191 yards and a half. Made me think. They said that last night. It's the first thing I thought of. Today when they said he had a good game, I didn't get to see it. So happy for him.
I'm sure you've had a lot of kids that have come through here that you're really big fans of.
He's as fine a human being as ever will come through here. And I say that he is a tremendous, and I don't mean that in disregard to anybody else, but man, what a great human being he is. I mean, what a great human being.
Jimbo, I don't know if you saw it, but Bradley Chubb came out after the game and apologized. He said he respected you guys. And did you know about that at all?
No, I didn't. Hey, we win the game, don't let them do it. That's our fault. It's up to him.
I know you talk about blocking out the noise and distractions and everything, but with what happened in the NFL this weekend and everything, is this one of those times when you're glad college football you stay in the locker room during the anthem and those things?
I don't get caught up in that. If that was something we had to address, and like I've said, I've addressed that before. Each player has their own choice of things that they want to represent or stand for. That's each individual's choice, and whether you kneel or you don't kneel, that's your choice. And just know that when you do those things, like I've said, you can affect other things, and it's not right or wrong. I mean, that's the thing about freedom. There's not a right answer to that. That's the greatness of living in our country. You have the freedom to express yourself how you want to express it, and that doesn't mean you're a good guy, bad guy, indifferent guy. It just means what you believe in and what you stand for. And I think that's one of the great things about our country.
Jimbo, on the interception that was waved off because of pass interference, they called Derwin, but Derwin wasn't near the play. Did you ask for an interpretation on that or anything?
I'm waiting. I'll wait for one.
And then
thought it was a good play.
And then overall,
big turning point in the game. We had just scored, stopped them, had the ball at midfield. There was a couple, 3 or 4 major goings that went that way. But you know something? That's the way the game's called. You got to move on. You got to process it and go on. You can't control that. Who gets hurt, calls, whatever the circumstance, you got to move on.
That's what I was going to ask is, even if they weren't all bad calls, it just seemed like a lot of important calls didn't go your way.
Well, and it did, but, like you say, that's out of our control. Like you always hear me, control the things you can control. All you can control is how you play the next play. Try to go on, and that's part of learning when you're a player and a coach. You can't dwell on that. You gotta process it, move on, and go. That's the call that was made. There's no way to change it. There's nothing you can do about it. Even if they come back and say they were the wrong calls. I mean, that doesn't affect the outcomes. That's the game we live in, and that's life.
Jimbo, what did Jacob Pugh do wrong on that play?
I don't know. I'm gonna wait, and again, when we get the interpretations back, I have no idea. I didn't think that. That's not my interpretation of the rule, but I may be wrong. I don't know.
Does it feel like, though, that's definitely not in the spirit of the rule when you're talking about safety for a booth guy to buzz down and kick? I didn't see it that way. I mean, again, I don't have the answer to that. In my opinion, yes, I agree with you that's not in my interpretation of that. But maybe I'm interpreting. I don't know, and what that was explained to us. But we'll wait and get a clarification on. No, I'm waiting to hear back. We got to send all that stuff in. It takes time. They watch it from all the games. You know what I mean? They got a bunch of games that they watch. Would you try to argue to get him eligible for the first half against Wade?
If it's not, a rule, I have to wait and get the ruling back. And that happened one time with Nigel Bradham too. Remember, we were able to get Nigel Bradham back for a half. That was because that was an interception on that play. If you remember right, when it ended the game, we could have taken a knee, and then they scored, and we had to catch an onside kick to keep the win. So, we're good. Thank you.